A nation builder laid to rest, an infant among the latest COVID deaths, and the PHA clarifies rumors. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Thursday, February 10th. Iconic nation builder, former principal of the Jordan Prince Williams Baptist School and organizer of both the C.W. Saunders Baptist High School and Bahamas Baptist Community College, the Reverend Dr. Charles Saunders, laid to rest today in a state-recognized funeral at the church he pastored for nearly 40 years. Hailed as a giant of the faith and leader extraordinaire, scores of clergymen, mainly of the Baptist faith, and government officials gathered at the Salem Union Baptist Church to pay their final respects. Our Tyler Simonet has more.
The Bahamas mourns the loss of a giant in the religious and education community today as the state-recognized funeral for the late Reverend Dr. Charles W. Saunders is held at the historic Salem Union Baptist Church on Taylor Street this morning. Described as a giant of the faith and leader extraordinaire by many, Reverend Dr. Saunders was a former educator, distinguished public servant, pastor emeritus of the Salem Union Baptist Church, superintendent emeritus of the Bahamas Baptist Union, and president emeritus of the Bahamas National Baptist Missionary and Educational Convention. At his service of praise and thanksgiving at Salem Union on Taylor Street, clergymen, government officials, and dignitaries gathered to pay their final respects. Beloved, a keen student of history, remarkable, and a notable preacher were just some of the adjectives used to describe Reverend Dr. Saunders by Associate Pastor of Salem Union, Reverend Dr. Sir Baltran Bethel. Sir Baltran reflected on the life of Reverend Dr. Saunders as an iconic builder of the nation and the kingdom of God.
Dr. Saunders was a keen student of history who clearly understood the past and determined with every fiber of his being to live a life to move mankind forward, to make this world a better place, to lift up the fallen, to care for the dying, and to point all mankind to Jesus, the mighty to save. He extended the Baptist witness and influence in the Bahamas to his greatest extent. He was a bastion of integrity and a passionate, untiring servant leader after the model of his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He influenced public policy and spoke with a prophetic voice. He was not afraid to speak truth to power to those in authority in government as well as in the church.
Sir Baltran worked very closely with Dr. Saunders at Salem Union, as well as president of the Bahamas Baptist Community College that Dr. Saunders had a hand in organizing. Also reflecting on the life of Reverend Dr. Saunders was Superintendent of the Bahamas Baptist Union, Reverend Garth E. Roll, and past President of the Bahamas National Baptist Missionary and Educational Convention, Reverend Dr. William Thompson.
I think one of the most difficult changes that happens in the lives of anyone is when death comes to a loved one. Whether that's a friend, whether that's a family member, whether that's a spouse. It is difficult, and it is profound, and it is lasting. And certainly the death of a friend impacts all of us. And even more so from the standpoint from which I stand today, as superintendent, it impacts us when that friend happened to have been a pastor. And in the case of Dr. Saunders, not only a pastor, but a pastor of pastors, as he led all of us who served as pastors in New Providence District Convention, in the Bahamas Baptist Union, at the National Baptist Missionary and Educational Convention.
To measure the meanings and work of Charles Saunders is as if one would have taken a thimble and tried to empty an ocean. It would be as if one sought to measure the expanse of the heaven with the span of human hand. My brothers and sisters, something vast and noble has passed from among us. It is like a mighty tree has fallen, leaving an empty and gaping space against the sky where he once stood. His life was an epic, a grand tale woven by God himself.
Prime Minister Philip Davis was present for the funeral and gave condolences to Reverend Dr. Saunders' family on behalf of the government of the Bahamas. Mr. Davis says this is a great loss for the church and described Dr. Saunders as a bold warrior for Christ, a fine gentleman, and a shepherd who treated his flock with compassion and diligence.
The real challenge for too many of us is that we are afraid to speak and to do so from a position of principle, without distinction and without fear of those in power or perceived to be in power. Dr. Saunders exercised that right fully. Because of it, he enjoyed an enduring respect from all facets of our society. He exercised freedom of expression liberally, using it to clearly articulate his stance on issues concerning the church and those that related to national policy.
Senior pastor at Mount Tabor Church, Bishop Neil C. Ellis, gave a touching sermon, preaching that Reverend Dr. Saunders had the mind of Christ.
It has been said that the greatest celebration of life is often regrettably reserved until the occasion of one's death. However, even while living, Dr. Saunders was held in high esteem and was well respected by all of us. This unusual level of respect, or this uncommon level of high regard, was not only shared by those of us in this sanctuary, but others across the country and elsewhere.
Reverend Dr. Saunders went to his final resting place at the Lakeview Memorial Gardens and Mausoleum. Reverend Dr. Saunders died on Friday, January 28th, at the age of 91. For JCN News, I'm Tyler Simonet.
Thanks, Tyler. An infant among the victims of COVID-19 as the Ministry of Health and Wellness report 3 unfortunate COVID-19 related deaths. A 13-day-old male who died on January 7th, a 62-year-old male who died on January 17th, and a 34-year-old female who died on February 2nd. All of them residents of New Providence. These unfortunate deaths pushed the country's COVID death toll to 756. The ministry's latest dashboard for Tuesday, February 8th, indicating that 166 people died with COVID-19, but not because of the virus. While 46 deaths remain under investigation, health officials on the same day confirmed 23 new COVID cases, 15 on New Providence, 4 with a history of travel within 14 days, 2 on Grand Bahama, 2 on Eleuthera, 1 of them with a history of travel, 2 on Exuma, 1 on Andros, and 1 on Abaco. That case also with a history of travel. 32,856 is the number of total confirmed cases, with 6,638 cases active in country. 64 of these active cases are in hospital, 5 of them fighting off the virus in intensive care, 59 of them moderately ill. On the flip side, 69 people were reported recovered from the virus on Tuesday. Appearing as guest on Love 97's talk show Issues of the Day on Wednesday, former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands was fielded a myriad of questions related to governance, the state of the Free National Movement, and his bid to become the FNM's next chairman. When the party goes to convention next week, Dr. Sands defended his role on the political landscape and was asked by the host what went into his decision to offer himself for chairman of the FNM.
You know, I have this unfortunate illness where I believe in doing all that I can to try and make my country a better place. And it is something that is difficult for me to walk away from. I believe that the Free National Movement is the best political vehicle. I don't think politics ought to be a blood sport. Unfortunately, it's become one. I now have to ask, as I reach this crossroads, what role can I play? And if I can be in this drama as it unfolds, to strengthen the appeal of the Free National Movement as the alternative government, as Her Majesty's loyal opposition, then let me do that to the best of my ability. And for the appeal of this organization to once again lead to the Free National Movement being elected as the government of the Bahamas 4 to 5 years hence.
In the event he is unsuccessful in his bid to become the next FNM chairman, Dr. Sands was asked what might be his next move politically.
I have lost before. I lost in my bid for deputy leader in 2014. I lost in my bid for deputy leader in 2016. And I have remained a member of the Free National Movement. You know, this is above personal ambition. This is really, you know, how often do you get up, dust yourself off, and continue to work for what you believe in? When I look at my children, I need to be able to say to them that your effort in life doesn't have to be rewarded with success every time. But if you give it your best shot and you do so in a manner that serves the public good, then I'm going to be proud of you regardless.
At the F&M convention set for February 23rd to 25th, Dr. Sands is expected to face a strong challenge from former Minister of Immigration Ellsworth Johnson, who is also contesting for the chairman's position. His Excellency Tony Salim Judy, the country's non-resident ambassador for the United Arab Emirates and the state of Qatar, says the age of sun, sand, and sea is over. Everybody has it.
There are a lot of markets that we can really tap into, okay, if we as a country enhance what we have in terms of productivity and products. We have a lot of things untouchable yet. We have not tapped into it. We have markets we have not tapped into. Take, for example, agriculture. Don't you think the marine industry would have been expanded if we have the means for it? It could have. We could have doubled and tripled the output. We could have doubled and tripled the output of agriculture. We could have tripled the output of finance. Ministry of Finance and Financial Services, they're struggling right now. Let's be honest about it. But we could enhance it. How do we enhance it? We bring in the experts. If we don't know it, let's bring in the experts to assist us. But we need first to be satisfied that we are at the edge of technology, at the edge of artificial intelligence, at the edge of things that the whole world is providing. Competition is fierce. Staying with background of sun, sand, and sea, that's no good no more. Everybody have it, whether artificially made or God granted. That does not help no more. What we really need to focus now is the new technology that's coming out. We need to be at the edge of that. We need to make sure we bring the brains, import them here, make sure they train our people.
Ambassador Judy told the press today following a ceremony held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to honor their new recruits that he felt more can be done in the country to improve our global offerings and exports. He notes that we are a young nation with the potential to become a world leader in sectors outside of the tourism space, but thus far nothing has been done to tap into that potential.
Why we cannot get out of that box and say, hey, we are able and we're going to use and utilize our efforts to expand our country. We're not ashamed. We're not shameful of anything. You know, we are a young generation. The young generation need to go out, and we've been offered by American University of Dubai a research development exchange, student exchange, professor exchange, technology exchange, but we have not tapped into it. That was signed in 2019. 3 years have gone, and we as a Bahamian people, we have not tapped into it. Why? I asked the question why we were not able to tap into it. You know, they're offering us exchange, technology. Why we have not tapped into it? So these things we really need to take seriously and start motivate our youngsters that, you know, we have, if we don't make a move, nobody gonna make a move for you. You gotta get it out of your hand yourself. No more depending on nobody anymore.
The ambassador's strong words on the country's direction and development come on the heels of the Prime Minister's recent announcement of Emirate developers having strong investor interests in the Bahamas. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.